Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio, a Pan-African Nationalist and Garveyite network committed to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people. We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
I think black people acquire too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell black people on things that are beneficial to black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, and we're kind of, continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people are so dumbed down, it wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They're in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter, man.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cathedra Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks was going to do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? They're a slave master, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The Forecast Radio.
Like, if you pray to the same deity as, like, your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you praying to,
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Africans generally are welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
Peace, fam. So, I'm going to try to be quick today. I have a meeting in an hour. Usually don't try to just do an hour, but, today it's going to be a little quicker, hopefully. But we're going to do this book. I'll tell you guys, this is Booker T. Washington's book. Booker T. Washington was an enslaved individual, and he rose up out of those conditions, horrible conditions none of us have suffered. Okay, he wrote this in 1902. His other book, Up from Slavery, inspired Marcus Garvey. This was a very informative person, but the most important thing is that he's telling us how to develop character. Now, these were actually, Sunday evening addresses to his students. So what we're going to do is we're just going to jump into the first one. It's about 8 pages. We're going to try to be quick. Actually, it looks like it's pretty quick. And I'm going to try to not dilly-dally too much, okay? I like to dilly-dally a little bit, but I'm going to try not to today, okay? So he says, 2 sides of life. There are quite a number of divisions into which life can be divided. But for the purpose of this evening, I'm going to speak of 2. The bright side of life and the dark side, okay? And I want to give you guys a little more context. I gave my wife this assignment to read this book to our kids. They didn't really pay attention. But even so, the advice was really on point. We read chapters 5 and 14, and they were really good. So I said to myself, look, I got to read this stuff to you guys. So that's what this is, okay? So he says, in thought, in talk, in action, I think you will find that you can separate life into these 2 divisions, the dark side and the bright side, the discouraging side and the encouraging side. You will find, too, that there are 2 classes of people, just as there are 2 divisions of the subject. There's one class that is schooling itself and constantly training itself to look upon the dark side of life. And there's another class made up of people who are consciously or unconsciously constantly training themselves to look upon the bright side of life, right? And for you, it's really about what are you doing, you know? And I think he's gonna say be a little even, but even so, like, how are you looking at this world? You know, the glass is half full or is the glass half empty? You know, and remember, the glass is half full, glass is half empty. Depends upon whether you're pouring or I'm gonna say pouring or drinking, right? But and that's what it is. So you got to look at life and say, are you pouring into your life, or are you draining? Are you draining your life? But let's keep going. Now it is not wise to go too far in either direction. The person who schools himself to see the dark side of life is likely to make a mistake, and the person who schools himself to look upon the bright side of life, forgetting all else, also is apt to make a mistake. And again, you know, that's how I approach even relationships, you know? But let's keep going. Notwithstanding this, I think I am right in saying that the person who accomplishes most in this world, those to whom on account of their helpfulness the world looks most for service, those who are most useful in every way, are those who are constantly seeing and appreciating the bright side as well as the dark side of life. And you know, I want to actually relate something that just happened to me. Okay? I went into my backyard, not like behind my house, right? There's these tall, like these small trees, and the city is like, hey, cut those trees because they're a fire hazard. Okay? Now it's not really a fire hazard, but the city wants me to hire one of their workers to, you know, pay one of their workers in order to cut the grass. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the backyard and cut the grass myself. Now, as I'm doing this, some kids notice me. Like, what are you doing? And, you know, I'll be honest with you. So sometimes my wife kind of looks at, you know, the neighborhood kids like, oh, some of them are just, you know, agents for their parents. You know, some conspiracy theory crap, right? I mean, you know, but some of them are like, they will come into your house, see where your doors are, your exits are, whatever, and then, you know, plan with the adults how to rob you or something, right? She don't trust the kids sometimes, right? And maybe not all kids, but some kids. But the way I look at it is, you know what? This could be my other son, you know? And so I'm not saying I look at it fully from the bright side. But what I do is I give them the instruments, I show them how to dig, I show them how to cook holes, and then I say, hey, you guys want some ice cream? And I give them some money, and I send my boys with them, okay? I send my sons with these boys I never seen in my life to go to the ice cream store and come back. And these boys were nice boys. They come back, bring the change, and then there was other 3 kids showed up, you know, like with ice cream, you know, like just looking around goofy. So I said, let's get these boys some ice cream too. And then later on, I give them some extra money, and they say, are you gonna wait for your change? You know, after I'm leaving, because, you know, I got tired from all that work, right? And they're like, you gonna give me a change? And it's like, you what you're picking up on when you're dealing with these people is character, right? You're picking up on character. But one of the things, the ways how you can discern character though, is you have to look at people, you have to be able to appreciate the bright side of life. But you also have to recognize the dark side. That is that there's a risk that comes with, you know, these like people do have games like that. When you lower your guard, people can rob you. So, you know, that's a thing too. But let's keep reading. It says, you will sometimes find 2 persons who get up in the morning, perhaps a morning that is overcast with shadows, a damp, wet, rainy, uninviting morning. And one of these persons will speak of the morning as being gloomy, will speak of the mud puddles about the house, of the rain, and of all the disagreeable features. The second person, the one who has schooled himself to see the brighter side of life, the beautiful things in life, will speak of the beauties that are in the raindrops and the freshness of the newly bathed flowers, shrubs, and trees. Notwithstanding the gloomy and general disconsolate appearance of things, he will find something attractive in the scene out of doors, and will discover something in the gloomy morning that will cheer him. And again, you know, this is a beautiful analysis, but the thing that you want to see from this beautiful analysis is this, right? People in the past saw beauty in things. And you had to remember too that this is not just any individual. This was an enslaved ancestor. Okay? Human beings. And if you read up from slavery, you pick up on how dehumanized he felt when he was younger. How dehumanized he felt. I think it's Booker T. Washington who tells the story. It's either Booker T. Washington or Frederick Douglass, but one of them tells the story of how I think it's Booker T. Washington, but how there were individuals who were enslaved, and the way how they spoke of themselves like there were three of us who were sold: my brother, my brother, the donkey, and myself. You know, like they identified with the animals. It was such a dehumanizing experience. But notwithstanding that, you see the beauty that we saw. So you should never look at your ancestors from a dehumanizing perspective. And obviously, I don't think you do. But it's just a wonderful confirmation to see that. But he says, suppose that you see that these two same persons eat their breakfast. Perhaps they will find out that the rolls are bad, but the coffee is excellent. If the rolls is poor, it is a great deal better in such a case to get into the habit, a habit that you will find pays from every standpoint, of being able to forget how unpalatable they are, and to let your thoughts dwell upon the good and satisfactory coffee. Call the attention of your near neighbor at the table to the excellence of the coffee. What is the result of that kind of schooling? You will grow up to be an individual whom people will like to see coming near them, an individual to whom people will go for encouragement when the hours are dark and when everything seems to be discouraging. And I want you guys to pick up on this. A lot of us don't get this. And I actually have this problem in my own relationship. You know, sometimes I can be discouraging. Sometimes I could be looking at the dark side of life. And you know, unfortunately, when you do that, people notice that. People want to speak with you less. My own wife would sometimes tell me, hey, you know, like, I'm sometimes afraid to talk to you about something. You know, it's not good. I don't want to brag about it. It's not something I'm bragging about. But what I'm trying to demonstrate for you, right, is that a lot of times you have to read between the lines of books. Okay? Sometimes the lesson is not clear. But what I'm saying is that you can apply this lesson, or even me, I'm reading this and I'm saying this lesson is a good one. And I mean, obviously, I already wrote similar lessons, but that's the thing about life, is that you get new experiences and you sometimes mess up. You know, Booker T. Washington said it earlier. You're likely to see mistakes. You're likely to make mistakes. All of us are apt to make mistakes. So one of the things that I want to do in this reading is try to tell you where not to make mistakes. Okay? And just to read between the lines and see, basically see that, you know, hey, this is game. Booker T. Washington is sharing with you. A lot of books that you're going to read, they are game. Okay? Let me just put it that way. So he keeps going. He says, in the same way, when you go into a classroom to recite your lessons, do not dwell upon any mistakes that you may think you see the teacher make, or upon any weakness in the presentation of the lesson. All teachers make mistakes sometimes, and you may depend upon it that it is an excellent teacher and a person of fine character who, when he or she has made a mistake, says frankly and plainly, I have made a mistake, or I don't know. It takes a very good and a very bright teacher to say, I don't know. No teacher knows everything about every subject. A good teacher will say frankly and clearly, I don't know. I cannot answer that question. Right? And remember, saying I don't know is really a really important skill. So he says, let me tell you right here, too, that when you go out from here to become teachers yourselves, as a larger portion of you will go, whenever you get to a point where a student asks you a question with which you are not able to answer, or asks you something about a subject on which you are not well informed, you'll find it better to say, frankly and honestly, I am unable to answer your question. Your students will respect you a great deal more for your frankness and honesty. And this is like social media 101, right? In social media, or even like 301, where it's like a lot of people just don't say, I don't know. You know, all of us have an opinion. Why did the planes crash? Why did Donald Trump win the election? Why does it? Like, sometimes you just don't know. You know, like sometimes it's just good to just say, I don't know. I have no idea. How is the war in this area is gonna end? I don't know. Education is not what a person is able to hold in his head so much as it's what a person is able to find. I believe it was Daniel Webster who said that the truly educated man was not the one who had all knowledge in his head, but the one who knew where to look for information upon any subject upon which at any time he might want information. Each individual who wishes to succeed must get that kind of discipline. He must get such training that he will know where to go and get facts rather than try to train himself to hold all facts in his head. Right? I want you to go out from this institution so trained and so developed that you'll be constantly looking for the bright, encouraging, and beautiful things in life. It is the weak individual, as a rule, who is constantly calling attention to the other side, to the dark and discouraging things of life. When you go into your classrooms, I repeat, try to forget and overlook any weak points that you may think you see. Remember and dwell upon the consideration that has been given to the lesson, the faithfulness with which it was prepared, and the earnestness with which it is presented. Try to recall and to remember every good thing and every encouraging thing which has come under your observation, whether it has been in the classroom or in the shop or in the field. No matter where you are, seize hold of the encouraging things which you come in contact. Remember, guys, like I said, you're in a relationship, right? You don't have to tell the lady, oh man, you burned the rice. You understand? Tell her how good she cooked the meat. Okay? Tell her how good the soda was. You know what I'm saying? like tell her how good the Pepsi was. Just oh, I love how you give me that. You love how you poured me a good glass of water. If the food is that bad, just tell her how good the water was. Okay? You don't gotta. I'm not. And look. Let's be real. If the food's not good, you gotta tell her it's not good, right? But maybe a little bit. Don't make it your thing. I remember, the first time and the last time I got kicked out of a woman's house, she asked me how the eggs were, and I said, look, man, this joint ain't it wasn't good, and of course, she kicked me out of the house. But what I want you to do is not do that. And look, I'm not saying don't be honest, okay? Especially in relationships, you got to be honest. But actually, look at the next sentence about it, right? It says, in connection with the personality of the teachers, it is very unfortunate for students to form a habit of continually finding faults, of criticizing, of seeing nothing but what the student may think are weak points. Try to get into the frame of mind where you will be constantly seeing and calling attention to the strong and beautiful things which you observe in the life and work of your teachers. Like for instance, this evening, wife made me a good piece of food. And, you just tell her, whenever your wife gives you something really good, you go and tell her, oh, this was so good. Oh, this food is delicious. Right? And then when she gives you something that's not too good, you just say, that food yesterday was so delicious. You just tell her about the food yesterday. You say, man, you know what I really miss, man? That food from yesterday. Oh, man, now that food from yesterday was good. Yeah, you could make a read between the lines. But realistically, that's because I'm telling you, because I'm reading this right now, and I don't know why the thing is this, I don't think I even do this, continually find faults or continually criticize. But the reality is this, if you do it twice, it seems like you do it continuously. Okay? So it's just better to not do it. And this is why it's so important for character building. Like, it's so important to get into character building because nobody's born with good character. Nobody develops into adulthood with good character unless they are disciplined themselves. Okay? Unless they try to discipline themselves. So, this is very, very critical. So I'm telling you, don't get into that. Like, try not to find faults. Try not to criticize. Do what I just said. Tell about yesterday. Tell about the first day you met. Because women remember things. And of course, life's not about just about relationships. This could also be, your employees. Because I want a lot of you, if you're not already, to be employers. Okay? I want a lot of you to be employers. And what you do is not just employers, be parents. So you don't just tell your kids, oh man, you messed up. You effed up. You don't just do that. You just tell them like for instance, earlier, I tell my stepson, mop the floor. I tell the boy, sweep the floor. Floor is dirty. I tell him to mop the floor. Floor dirty. So, but after he finished. Now, I'm not saying I didn't, call to his attention because I'm the parent. So I have to, look, boy, this is how you do it. And when he's finished, I praise him. I say, you did a good job at this floor. Now, again, there's a balance. And just like I say, there's a balance in a relationship. If your wife is doing something, you have to find fault. But there's a balance, and this is what I really want to point out to you guys. So he says, try to get in the frame of mind where you will be constantly seeing and calling attention to the strong and beautiful things that you observe in the life and the work of your teachers. Grow into the habit of talking about the bright side of life. When you meet a fellow student, a teacher, or anybody, and when you write letters home, get into the habit of calling attention to the bright things of life that you have seen, the things that are beautiful, the things that are charming. Just in proportion as you do this, you will find that you will not only influence yourself in the right direction, but that you will also influence others that way. It is a very bad habit to get into, that of being continually moody and discouraged, and of making the atmosphere uncomfortable for everybody who comes within 10 feet of you. There are some people who are so constantly looking on the dark side of life that they cannot see anything but that side. Everything that comes from their mouth is unpleasant about this thing, and that thing, and they make the whole atmosphere around them unpleasant for themselves and for everybody with whom they come in contact. Such persons are surely undesirable. Why? I have seen people coming up the road who caused me to feel like wanting to cross over on the other side of the way as not to meet them. I didn't want to hear their tales of misery and woe. I had heard those tales so many times that I didn't want to get into the atmosphere of the people who told them. Now again, this chapter might not be the best chapter on the planet, but this book is really, really good. Okay? I'm going to put it up there, I told my wife, I wanted to read 4 books, right? Ptah Htp, obviously. Uangalifu, obviously. Marcus Garvey's Message to the People, obviously. And this character building is good too. Okay? So it is often very easy. So again, there are those negative Nancy's. You don't want to be associated with a negative Nancy. Okay? It is often very easy to influence others in the wrong direction and to grow into such a moody, fault-finding disposition that one not only is miserable and unhappy himself, but makes everyone with whom he comes in contact miserable and unhappy. The persons who live constantly in a fault-finding atmosphere, who see only the dark side of life, become negative characters. They are the people who never go forward. They never suggest a line of activity. They live simply on the negative side of life. Now, as students, you cannot afford to grow in that way. We want to send each one of you out from here, not as a negative force, but as a strong, positive, helpful force in the world. You will not accomplish the task which we expect of you if you go with a moody, discouraged, fault-finding disposition. To do the most that lies in you, you must go with a heart and head full of hope and faith in the world, believing that there is work for you to do, believing that you are the person to accomplish that work and the one who is going to accomplish it. Now, this, I want you guys, because I remember I told you I only want to be here for an hour, and I'm already 15 minutes, I'm already finished, so let me just slow it down a little bit. But look, he says this. I want you guys to read this one. To do the most that lies in you, you must go with a heart and head full of hope and faith in the world, and believe that there is work for you to do. Life is about working. Believe that there's work for you to do. Believe that you are the person to accomplish that work. And believe that you are the one who is going to accomplish it. You must be work-centered, not word-centered. Okay, we talked about the 4 stages of African consciousness yesterday. The difference between the difference between 2 of the stages is that 2 of the stages is about words, and 2 of the stages is about work. You have to say to yourself, what work am I going to do? What work do I need to accomplish? And I really want you guys to take that to heart. So last paragraph, he says, in 9 cases out of 10, the person who cultivates the habit of looking on the dark side of life is the little person, the miserable person, the one who is weak in mind, heart, and purpose. On the other hand, the person who cultivates the habit of looking on the bright side of life and who calls attention to the beautiful and encouraging things in life, in 9 cases out of 10, the strong individual, the one to whom the world goes for intelligent advice and support. I am trying to get you to see as students the best things in life. Do not be satisfied with second-hand or third-hand things in life. Do not be satisfied until you have put yourselves into the atmosphere where you can seize and hold on to the very highest and most beautiful things that can be got out of life. And that's really the whole thing. So if anybody has any comments, now's the time. But other than that, I appreciate everybody coming through. I see we had 2 people in the chat, which is good. Okay? I appreciate you guys spending this 15 minutes with me, or this 25 minutes with me. Okay. And hopefully, we can spend some time again. Let me just remind you guys about the books that I wrote. These are some of the books that I wrote. This is not the one that we're reading. If you want the link to Character Building by Booker T. Washington, check out the description below. You can see the link. But also, if you want a copy of Uangalifu, which is about secure your life, wealth, and health, check out the link below. Also, if you want to, just chop it up occasionally with some very intelligent individuals or get access to some free books, click on the link for the Discord, and that should take you to where we congregate and conversate. Okay? But other than that, appreciate everybody for their time. And until next time, Shemen Hotep, On Kuja, Sendeb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua, Necher.